for yet another gathering on a virtual platform. Today is a special and memorable occasion, one that we will remember in the years to come. With the blessings of our beloved chairman, Dr. R.N. Shetty, I take pride and privilege to welcome Shri Viveck Shetty, an eminent speaker of today's world. Before I cordially invite Viveck sir for today's session, I would be honored to read out the lifetime achievements of Viveck sir. Here it is. Mr. Viveck Shetty has been a motivational speaker and a life coach with a strong focus on yoga, life sciences, and mystic knowledge for more than 15 years now, with over 500 lectures and sessions to his credit, spread across leading corporate groups, management institutions, NGOs, medical and engineering colleges, international schools, and various management forums. He also conducts one-to-one classes on a regular basis for mind management and voice training. Over 300 top corporate professionals, entrepreneurs, and celebrities are now training directly under him for mind management, public speaking, and voice training. He is employed as a corporate trainer with large corporate organizations across the globe. His students include CEOs and founders of large business groups from USA, UK, and countries of the European continent, and of course, our country, India. Viveck sir is a recipient of few awards. He was conferred with the Midday Award for Excellence in Motivational Speaking on 30th May 2019. Sir was also conferred with the Navshakti Award on 29th April 2016 for Excellence in Communications and Branding Leading to Social Impact. He has 150,000 followers on Instagram with numbers multiplying by the hour. He heads Indus Communication, a 360-degree communication services offering state-of-the-art services in advertising, public relations, event management, and celebrity management to leading corporates, business houses, and celebrities. His popular radio show, Celebrating Life with FM Rainbow, is currently on air on 107.1 FM and is part of the reputed and largest Akashvani radio network. His television show, CEO Talk with Viveck Shetty, was one of the most popular television shows for corporate India. His one-of-its-kind television show on the human mind titled Man Ek Kalpavraksh, that translates to The Mind, a Wishing Tree, broadcast on DD Sahyadri, has been well received and appreciated. He strongly believes in yoga and religiously devotes himself, practicing it every single day. He has contributed as a freelance writer to leading publications like DNA, Hindustan Times, Midday, Dainik Jagran, Free Press Journal, Afternoon Savvy, and many more. The truly multifaceted Viveck sir dabbles life coaching, management, motivational speaking, yoga, and writing with equal ease and elegance. On behalf of everyone with Merging of Minds, I welcome you, sir, and wish you a splendid time with us. I'm pleased to extend a gracious and inclusive welcome to Shri R. Upendra Shetty, the Honorable President of Bansanga, Bengaluru. Sir, it is your sense of commitment which creates an apt platform for us to grow both mentally and spiritually, particularly at this hour of crisis. With a thankful heart, I welcome you, sir, for today's session.
Okay, thank you.
It gives me an immense pleasure to welcome Shri Madhukar M. Shetty, the Honorary Secretary and Convener of Bansanga, Bengaluru. Sir, with your encouragement and guidance, we have excelled in our achievements and committed ourselves to global standards year after year. On behalf of everyone, I extend a warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to welcome Shri Deepak Shetty, the Treasurer of Bansanga, Bengaluru. Sir, your endless care and support at all times has played a vital role in the growth of our institution. On behalf of everyone, a warm welcome to you, sir.
Thank you so much, and best wishes for this session. Thanks to Viveck.
Thank you.
I take this hour to welcome the Governing Council members, Executive Committee members, office bearers, and members of Bansanga for today's webinar. I'm delighted to welcome Srimati Anju Nayak, the principal of our institution, for today's session. Ma'am, you are an inspirational force and you have catered to the needs of all of us at all times. On behalf of everyone, a hearty welcome to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Prabha ma'am.
I take pride to welcome Srimati Sumavati Rai, the headmistress of the ICSE wing, and Srimati Kalpana Ram, the headmistress of the CBSE wing, for today's webinar. I cordially welcome to the coordinators of the nursery wing, Srimati Sharmila Launde ma'am, and high school wing, Srimati Soumya ma'am, the heads of all departments of both school and college, for today's webinar.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm very glad to respectfully welcome the parents of our institution for today's webinar. Dear parents, you are our strength. We acknowledge your interest and support towards the growth of our esteemed institution, specifically at this hour of pandemic. We welcome you wholeheartedly. I take pleasure to welcome my dear colleagues, the lecturers from college, the heads of the admin department, admin staff, the supporting staff, who are directly or indirectly the cause for the success of today's webinar. Back to you, Viveck sir. We are very fortunate to have you with us this afternoon as an inspirational orator. We are eagerly waiting you for your deliverance, which would be an insightful and thought-provoking as well. The topic for today's webinar is creating a culture of joy. Over to you, Viveck sir. The platform is yours.
Namaskara to one and all.
Namaste, sir.
Namaskara is the Anjali Mudra in yoga. And when we bring our fingers together in this fashion, it is common scientific knowledge that the maximum pressure points are at the tips of your fingers. So when we bring our fingers together in this fashion, it activates the nerve centers of our brain and connects it with the upper body, making you a picture of joy, calmness, and increasing your level of receptivity. The full meaning of Namaskara, the traditional Indian greeting, Namaste, also means I bow down to you. I recognize the universe, the truth, the awareness, and the consciousness in you, and you also recognize it in me. And in this recognition, we are one. So that is the traditional Indian Namaste or Namaskara. It brings humility into sharp focus. The ego collapses when you bow down. And only when the ego collapses, there is a distinct possibility of merging with something bigger. And in this age and era of the COVID-19 pandemic, Namaskara is also safe for all of us. And at the same time, it's very profound and very respectful to any audience, to any person opposite you. With that, I would also like to acknowledge the management of the RNS Vidyaniketan and Composite PU College, Bangalore, starting with the chairman, Mr. R.N. Shettyy, Upendra Anna, Madhukar Anna, Deepak Shetty, the dynamic principal, Mrs. Anju Nayak, and a host of other people who are part of the committee, who are part of the governing council, the various principals, vice principals, the distinguished people from the admin department. I don't know the name of every single person, but I acknowledge each one of you and thank you for this opportunity. It is always a delight and a sheer pleasure to interact with teachers and parents, to interact with trainers. I call them rock stars who build the nation. I don't call them teachers. I don't call them parents. For me, that is the latter part of the definition. The first part of the definition is teachers and parents who are training children are rock stars who are building the nation. So when you're teaching, you're doing nation building. And that's a great task. It's a phenomenal task of tremendous significance. So I acknowledge the entire management of this fabulous institution, I acknowledge all the other people for giving me this platform, for giving me this opportunity. I know a large part of the teachers who are part of this webinar have also been part of my previous webinar that I did for the Band Sangha Bangalore, which was the webinar on the management of the subconscious mind. I want to tell each one of you that only the first 5 to 7 minutes of this webinar may be exactly the same in terms of the intro, but the rest of the webinar in terms of content, in terms of what it unfolds, in terms of the experience will be totally different. So please pay careful attention and be all ears. Last but not the least, the speaker exists because the audience exists. The speaker exists because the listener exists. The speaker has no identity without an audience. So I would like to acknowledge all the parents and everybody else in the audience, no matter from what profession you come, no matter from which walk of life you come. I would like to acknowledge your presence in this webinar. And the good news is the very fact that all of us have logged in and we are on this common platform means our energies are connected at a certain level. Otherwise, we simply cannot log in. The universe is simply a dance of energy. And unless energies connect, people simply cannot connect. Last but not the least, I'm going to use a very interesting technique in this webinar, which I've also used in a couple of my previous webinars and probably also in the webinar that I did for the Band Sangha Bangalore. And that is what I call the bell technique. So I'm going to use this bell right through this webinar. If you look at ancient India, a bell was used in every second place, and there was a scientific reason for that. In yoga, we say you have 108 chakras in your body which are of extreme significance, of utmost importance. Yeah. So for those of you who don't have a knowledge and understanding of chakras, for simple, basic, elementary understanding, you can presume they are energy junctions or energy zones. Of these 108, 7 are very, 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 very important. And in good old India, the metal that was used to make the bell was very carefully chosen. The alloys were very carefully chosen. The bell was tuned to a certain frequency. And when they rang the bell in this fashion, it literally activated your 7 most important chakras or your energy junctions and raised your level of receptivity to the message that was being given, raised your level of attention, raised your level of focus. So we're going to use this bell technique off and on right through this webinar. And whenever I think I'm saying something significant, which I want you to mark or note down very carefully, I'm going to ring the bell. So pay careful attention to the bell, and we're going to use it very often right through this webinar. And as usual, I begin all my sessions with 2 requests. And this session is going to be no different in that sense. The first request is, please keep your spine erect as far as possible right through the session. If you look at evolution, if you look at the history of mankind, we evolved from animals to human beings. And as we evolved, our spine also evolved from being horizontal to being vertical. So kindly observe the difference in intelligence between animals and human beings. As we evolved, even our spine evolved from being horizontal to being vertical. And in that sense, your spine literally holds your intelligence. So again, if you observe life carefully, you would note that whenever you're slouching or bending or, keeping your spine in an awkward position, automatically your attention span has gone down, your concentration has gone down, your capacity to focus has gone down. So in yoga, we also call the spine the center of your universe. So try and keep it erect as far as possible right through this session. That will ensure that your concentration is at its peak. Your focus is right there to every single word, to every single emotion that is being conveyed in this webinar, right? My second request is, be in the now if you can. Now, this is a far too widely and loosely used terminology. We've read about it, we've heard about it. There are many things about it that people think they know. But in this webinar, I'm also going to do a live experiment to demonstrate what is now. And probably you have never looked at now in that fashion. We're going to do that a little later in the webinar. But for the moment, I'm going to begin with a nice humorous story. And this webinar is going to be full of small humorous stories. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's going to be unpredictable in terms of what's going to happen next. Yeah, it's not a sermon that a priest is giving from a pedestal, which is going to be boring. It's going to be high excitement. So we begin with this short story, which is extremely humorous and hilarious. And I would like you to listen to this. And it demonstrates the power of now. So there were three brilliant space scientists who had to travel from point A to point B using a railway train. And they were busy discussing a future space project that was supposed to take off 6 months down the line. Very intense discussion, highly engrossing, and suddenly, amidst all that, the train comes. The train comes. Two of them manage to board the train. One scientist is unfortunately left behind. So the one who's left behind is a little downcast, is a little dejected, and a little confused. So another passenger who happened to be on the same railway platform waiting for his train approaches this scientist and questions him, "Sir, what is the problem? Why are you looking so down, dejected?" So the scientist responds and tells him, "I missed my train." So the passenger pacifies him and tells him, "Don't worry, there'll be another train on the platform in flat 20 minutes. Board that train and proceed." He says, "No, that is not the problem." So this passenger questions him again, "What is then the problem?" So he tells him, "My two friends have already boarded the train." Again, the passenger pacifies him and consoles him and tells him, "Don't worry, ask them to wait for you at the next station. Take the next train and catch up with them. No need to get worried." The scientist again says, "That is also not the problem." Now this passenger is a little perplexed, is a little, irritated, a little frustrated. He asks him with one finality, "What then is the problem, sir?" So he tells him, "The two friends who were boarded the train had actually come to see me off. And now they're in the train and I am here." So this is what happened to three brilliant space scientists who are absolutely geniuses in their respective fields. But they just missed the moment. So this is what could happen to anybody if you miss the moment. Every moment is a moment of infinite possibilities, provided you're in the moment. The solution to every problem lies in the moment, provided you're in the moment. And incidentally, another name of this great nation called India is also Bharat. One of the 26 stories that inspired the name Bharat is the following. The Bha in Bharat stands for Bhavana, sentiment. The Ra in Bharat stands for Raga, the tune. The Ta in Bharat stands for Tala, the rhythm. पूरी भावनाओं से रागा को समझ के ताल में रहिए. With all the sentiment and passion at your command, listen to the tune, understand the tune, and be one with the rhythm. This is also another beautiful, musical, creative way of saying be in the now. So with these two requests, I will proceed headlong into this webinar. We have chosen this topic very carefully, creating a culture of joy. Yes, this is very, very important, very, very profound, very, very significant, and can alter the very destiny of a nation. As I go further into this webinar, I'm going to explain to you how. But before we get into the mechanics, dynamics of creating a culture of joy, let us clearly understand the context. What is the need to create a culture of joy? Well, from my school days, I have been observing, and even now, children are walking to school and they are running back home. Walking to school, but running back home. It's almost like a jailbreak. So what has happened? Is education more entanglement than enrichment? Has education become more of a torture process rather than a joyful process? Think about it. I'm not sitting on judgments. I'm asking questions. 70% of the downloads that children have in the first 7 years, or in the first 10 years, or in the first 15 years are negative, self-sabotaging downloads which stay in their subconscious mind in the form of programs for a lifetime and influence their entire life. Statistical studies have proven that in this age of internet, media boom, television boom, and so many other things, where you are literally drowned in information. 70% of their downloads are negative, and this impacts them for a lifetime. The third aspect of the context: 80% of the conditions that human beings suffer from today are psychosomatic in nature. Psychosomatic means disease produced by the mind for the body. So if a mosquito bites somebody and they contract malaria, that is an external attack. That is not psychosomatic. But heart conditions, BP, type 2 diabetes, arthritis, stress, these are all psychosomatic conditions which the human mind has produced for the human body. And 80% of the conditions that human beings suffer from today are psychosomatic in nature. Another important aspect of the context: pause, take a deep breath, and look carefully at the world around us. What kind of a world have we created? Which are the biggest industries in the world? Many of you in the audience may be surprised to know this. In the top 5, and probably at number 1, is arms and ammunition. Weapons, arms and ammunition. Number 2 is drugs and intoxicants. Number 3 is pharmaceuticals. Pharmaceuticals is at number 3, means we are eating more medicines than food. We are eating more medicines than food. Now, pharmaceuticals is required at a certain dimension for human well-being. I'm not denying that at all. But popping pills has become part of our culture. For a headache, you pop a pill. For something else, you pop a pill. Every week, you're popping pills at a very early age. Our forefathers did not need a pill till maybe 60. Today, we need pills by 25. The journey of pills starts. 2025 starts. Again, you all may be surprised to know, in the so-called advanced nations of the world, very advanced nations, I won't name them. If you go to certain parts of this advanced nation of the world, the most advanced nation of the world, you may be surprised to find out, by the time you reach the age of 25, if you've not seen a shrink, they call a psychiatrist a shrink there. If you've not seen a shrink, they ask you what's wrong with you. You have to see a shrink by the time you're 25. So these 3 industries are among the top 5 industries of the world. Who has created these industries? What kind of a system is creating these industries? Do we need to have a serious look at our education system if these are the industries that are going to be the biggest industries in the world? And let me give you a statistical truth. Today they are big. Another 15-20 years down the line, they'll become even bigger. That is the plan we have created. When your children grow up, when they become adults, these industries will continue to rule the roost and become even bigger. So we have created a plan in such a way that if the plan doesn't succeed, we think we are doomed. If the plan succeeds, in any case we are doomed. So there is no other choice but to revisit the plan. We have to revisit the plan. The last important aspect, and then I will proceed to the topic of creating a culture of joy. Suicides. It's all over the news. On an average, as per a recent study, nearly 20,000 children are committing suicide in India. So sad. And of this, 8,000 are probably below the age of 12. What kind of a system, what kind of a culture is driving children to suicide? I want the answer to this question. And in this webinar, we hopefully will try and get some answers. We will do a process of what I call is the most important process of life. It is called the process of self-inquiry. It is called the process of self-investigation. Now, having understood the context, why is creating a culture of joy so important? You understood the context. I have given you 5 examples. I can give 100 more. But in a 1-hour webinar, there is no time for all that to happen. So we have understood the need to create a culture of joy. We've understood the context. Now I'll give the ground rules which may help us tremendously in creating this culture of joy. The first thing which the education system needs to look at very, very seriously, all the parents and all the teachers, please note this point down if you want. In any case, I'm sure the management will make the video available to you. But please note this point. The first point is context is more important than content. The first point is context is more important than content. What do I mean by this? Well, we run a training module for top corporate organizations, large companies. The title of the module is, Why is Monday Miserable? Why is Monday miserable? There is one culture in corporate organizations, many organizations that I have seen, right from the CEO to the office boy, 90% of the people, if not 99%, are waiting for the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, holiday. Once the weekend comes, they'll pull their, put their feet up, relax, go on a picnic, do something here, do something there. Monday is miserable. Monday comes means they become miserable. So in my training sessions to them, I ask them a simple question. Do you want a joyful life or do you want a miserable life? Obviously, the answer to that question is everybody says we want a joyful life. Fantastic. So then please pay careful attention to this. If Monday is miserable and if 5 days a week are miserable from Monday to Friday when you are working, or for children, they are going to school, say from the age of 5 till, and by the time they complete college, they're at least 20, so which means 15 years for children, and 40 years of working life for working professionals. For teachers and trainers, you work, say on an average from 20, 25 till 60, so 35, 40 years of working life. So if 5 days a week or 6 days a week, depending on how many holidays you have in a week, are miserable, by the time you reach the age of 60 and you retire, these days people are working even longer, but assuming you retire at 60, if you look back at your life, 40 years of your working life or 35 years of your working life, or if children look back at 15 years of their college life, college and school life, they would observe that 5 or 6 days a week were miserable. Now, no matter at the age of 60 how much money you made, no matter what your bank balance, no matter how many bungalows you own, no matter how many cars you have, the context of your life was miserable no matter what the content. The context of your life was miserable no matter what the content. So, if you want a joyful life, Monday to Friday should be joyful. Then, when you look back at life, you will say, I led a joyous life. I was always happy. I always had a great time with people. I always had a great time outside the classroom. Everything was largely a bundle of joy. I was ecstatic. I was exuberant. This feeling needs to come out when you're looking back at life. Today, if you observe, we have largely created a restless generation. Everybody is restless. Nobody is joyous. Because a lot of emphasis is made on content, which means I am a motivational speaker, I am a life coach. That is the content of my life. What is the context? I have to enter the webinar with joy. I have to treat it as a peak potential process. I have to enjoy this. That is the context of my life. Somebody may be a plumber, somebody may be a CEO, somebody may be a minister, somebody may be a teacher, somebody may be a parent. Everybody, if not every second person, is restless when they go to bed at night. There was this old ghazal, सीने में जलन, आंखों में तूफान सा क्यों है? सीने में जलन, आंखों में तूफान सा क्यों है? इस शहर में हर शख्स परेशान सा क्यों है? Why is there a constant heartburn? Why is there a storm in every eye? Why is everybody so restless? The CEO is restless when he goes to bed. The toilet cleaner is restless when he goes to bed. Maybe even the teacher and the parent are restless when they go to bed. It has got nothing to do with money, power, and position. Nothing whatsoever. And unless you are joyful, your best work, whether it's a student or a teacher, can only come out when you are joyful. If you are miserable inside, your best work simply cannot come out. Nothing fabulous can happen outside until something fabulous is happening inside. Mark this, please. Nothing fabulous can happen outside until something fabulous is happening inside. Outside, you want to create a Taj Mahal. Inside, you're a big wreck. How can this happen? Please tell me, how can this happen? So, we have to create importance for context in our training process. The entire training system is focused on content. We have forgotten context. That is why we have a restless generation. It is not Viveck Shettyy, it is Warren Buffett saying this, that a good night's sleep is worth more than $1 billion. That's Warren Buffett, one of the most wealthiest men in the world, saying. So he also realizes that the context of my life is more important than the content. How much money I make is secondary, but if the money is going to rob me of my sleep in the night, I don't want that money. This is Warren Buffett saying, not Viveck Shettyy. The last letter of Steve Jobs, who's considered to be the most brilliant, technological genius we had in our age and era, Steve Jobs, all of us know him. Please go and read his last letter. It is viral all over social media. He said, worldly success came to me, everything else came to me, but deep inside, I was empty and hollow. And if I had a second chance to live this life again, I would not live it this way. This is Steve Jobs saying it, not Viveck Shettyy. So that was the first point, that context of life is more important than content. And I want every educational institution and every organization to have one more index. Please, to measure the economy, we have GDP. Please, to measure happiness quotient, you should have an index in your organization, GHI, Gross Happiness Index. Gross Happiness Index. In every classroom, you must make a conscious effort, establish parameters to measure what is the level of happiness in the classroom. The teacher or the trainer who creates maximum happiness in the classroom should be given an award for that particular year or that particular semester or that particular quarter or that particular month, that this teacher raised the level of happiness in the organization and contributed maximum to the GHI, Gross Happiness Index. Inculcate these values in your organization and see how the process of education becomes more joyful. Not just institutions and organizations, even nations should not just have GDP, they should have GHI. And today, if you measure the GHI of our country, I'm feeling sorry to tell this, will not be very high on the index. Not just India, many other countries will be very, very at the bottom of the, scale. Absolute bottom. Very few countries in the world can say they are very high on GHI, Gross Happiness Index. So that was the first point, to create a culture of joy. What is the second most important point? Goal setting. Again, note this down, those of you who would like to take a paper and pen approach. Goal setting. All of us have organizational goals. The principal will have her own goal, that when I am the principal of such a fabulous institution, maximum students should pass with distinction and maybe 90% plus marks when it comes to the most crucial exams, and overall our school should have a very good track record in academics, in extracurricular activities, in sports, everywhere. Teachers have their own goals. They have to complete the curriculum and syllabus in a certain period of time. They have to ensure that students understand. There are a whole sort of goals that we live with, and goal setting is an integral part of the system. Now, from big corporate organizations to educational institutions to many other organizations, make this mistake with goals. What is this mistake that I'm pointing out to? Please listen to this very carefully. You have set a goal. Great, fantastic. Now, where does the problem lie? The problem lies here. Suppose Usain Bolt is running a 400-meter relay race. It is a circular track. Okay? So Usain Bolt has to start from here. This is the starting point. Run the entire semicircle and come to this point, which is the finishing point. Usain Bolt has the goal here. He has to reach this point in the shortest possible time frame. Fantastic. But suppose if Usain Bolt lives 24/7 with his goals, which means he's always thinking of the goal. You know how he's going to run? He's going to run like this. Like this. One eye here on the track, one eye on the goal. One eye on the track, one eye on the goal. And God forbid, if it's a hurdle race, he's had it. Fortunately, Usain Bolt doesn't run this way. That is why he's a world champion. So what has happened when you keep one eye on the goal always, when you're living with your goals 24/7? The following happens. In case of Usain Bolt, he has been blessed with two eyes, but he's negotiating the path with only one eye. He has reduced himself to a handicap. With organizations, what happens is, when you're living with goals 24/7, you're eternally in the future. Eternally in the future. Today I'm addressing this webinar, you're thinking of a goal of, let us say, 6th November, and today is 6th October, you are already in 6th November. There is no question of you grasping anything from this webinar because you are already in 6th November. When 6th November comes, you will be in 6th December. When 6th December comes, you will be in 6th January. You will be like that passenger on that railway platform I told you, who was waiting for his train, who never took a single train and went anywhere, was always waiting for the next train. You are eternally in the future. Now understand this very scientifically. The present is the mother of the future. You are ignoring the present and you are focusing on the future. So it's like saying you ignore the mother, but we'll have a very, very healthy child. Don't worry about that. We'll have a fantastic healthy child. It's okay if the mother is in depression. It's okay if the mother does not have proper food and water. It's okay if the mother does not have proper sleep. It's all fine. It's okay. We'll still have a very, very healthy child, and it will be, good, a bright young child. How is it possible? The present is the mother of the future. If you take care of the mother, automatically, as a natural consequence of the process, you're going to have a healthy child. So in yoga, we say, once you identify your goal, drop the goal. Don't live with it 24/7. You will make yourself miserable. You will make everybody around you miserable. Negotiate the path with complete intensity of involvement. So in goal setting, once you identify your goal, don't live with your goals 24/7. You will be anxious, you will be restless, you will be full of fear. Negotiate the path with complete intensity of involvement and be in the now, because now is the present, and without focusing on the present, there is no question of the future happening. I am going to do a live experiment here at this stage to demonstrate the power of the now. Could I request my host? I forgot to acknowledge you in the beginning. I think Pushpa. Pushpa is the host, if I'm not mistaken. Madam Pushpa, are you there?
No, sir. No, yes, sir. I'm there. I'm Prabha, not Pushpa, sir.
Sorry, Prabha. Prabha, madam,
Yeah.
sorry. Thank you for that generous introduction. And at this stage, I would
My
like to
pleasure, sir.
request you to give me one participant for a live experiment. I want one participant.
Right now, sir.
Right now, you can get that participant ready. We'll go do a live experiment. All of you in the webinar can do this experiment as I'm doing this with the participant. You all can also do it at your own level and you'll be surprised what happens. All right? Okay. So who's the participant?
Any one of you, please volunteer.
Yeah, anybody would do. Yes. Who's the person, please? Is somebody ready?
Yes. Please volunteer yourself.
Who's the person, please? Can I have him on the screen?
Amrit, sir. Will you please do for us? Amrit, sir.
Can you have him on the screen, please?
Amrit, sir.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I can hear you.
Yeah. Will you please do for us, sir? Will you join Viveck, sir?
Yeah, yeah,
Hi,
sure,
namaskar.
sure, ma'am. Sure. Namaskara, sir.
What is your name, please?
Sir, Amaresh. Amaresh B. Angadi.
Amresh.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Amresh, we are going to do a fun experiment. Okay.
Yes.
It is not about right and wrong.
Yeah.
It is a self-inquiry and a self-investigation process. Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes.
So it's going to be fun and you're going to enjoy it. I'm also going to enjoy it. Okay.
Okay, sir.
So I want you have any object next to you, something, a paper, a pen or something?
Yes, sir. I have.
You have a pen?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So now close your eyes.
Yes.
Okay. Imagine you're a newborn baby. You're a newborn baby, you're just born. Okay?
Okay.
I want you to touch the pen and describe the feeling of touching the pen with your eyes closed. You are a newborn baby. Don't forget that. Describe the feeling of touching the pen with your eyes closed. Describe that feeling to me. Everybody can do this experiment as I'm doing it with Amrish. What are you feeling, Amrish?
Something, an object, sir, but I can't describe that. That way it feels.
Something, an object. Just close your eyes. Keep your eyes closed. Don't worry. Then you're touching it. What are you feeling? An object, that's for sure. What are you? What can you feel?
I can just sense that's it, sir.
Sorry.
Just it's an object. Just I can sense. That's all.
Okay. Now this word object came from memory.
Yes, sir.
You're a newborn child. Nobody taught you what is an object.
Yes, sir.
You're just born. Who taught you what is an object? Nobody. That word object has come from your memory.
Yeah, just feeling a touch, just like a foreign object, like something.
Foreign object is again memory.
Yes, sir.
No, you're a newborn child. Close your eyes. Don't worry. It's fun. Nobody taught you that it is foreign. Nobody taught you what is an object. You are a newborn child. There is just sensation and feeling. Am I right?
Yes, sir. You're right, sir.
Okay. Now imagine you have a headache.
Yeah.
Again, you're a newborn child.
Yeah.
Just imagine you have a headache.
Yes, sir.
Describe the headache to me.
Pain.
Close your eyes.
Yes, sir.
Here, it will be over in 1 minute. Don't worry.
Yes.
Close your eyes. Just describe the headache to me.
A kind of uncomfortable, uh, complete, stress.
Uncomfortable word came again from memory.
Yes, sir.
Who taught you what is comfortable and uncomfortable? You are a newborn child.
Yes, sir. I may
So,
cry, sir. Like,
it is just again your headache is also just sensation and feeling.
yes, sir.
What is the difference between the feeling of touching the pen and the feeling of the headache?
Uh, Sir, can you please repeat, sir?
What is the difference? Is there any difference in the feeling of touching the pen and the feeling of the headache?
Yes, sir.
What is the difference?
Touching an object, just it's an experience that what you got.
Come again. Speak. Touching an object.
Just as an experience, a new thing.
And headache.
Headache, it is a kind of pain or what you call uncomfortable feeling. Again, it's a sense.
1 minute. You can open your eyes.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you observe, touching an object is an experience. Experience word came from memory.
Yes, sir.
Touching came from memory.
Yeah.
Headache is painful, uncomfortable came from memory. Your entire description has come from memory.
Yes, sir.
When you are totally in the now, it is only sensations and feelings.
Yeah.
And the difference between the feeling of a headache and the feeling of touching the pen is only the intensity of the sensation.
Yes, sir.
Headache will be little more intense.
Yeah.
Touching the pen will be not so intense.
Yeah.
That is the only difference.
Yeah.
And that is called being in the now.
Yeah.
So largely we are operating life through memory, through the filter of memory.
Yep.
All the people who are listening to the webinar will largely listen to it through the filter of memory. Very few will manage to come into the now. Okay? So my experiment is done. We can have Amrish off the screen. I just want to convey some important messages to the audience now. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Welcome.
Okay, so could we have the full screen back, the spotlight? The technical team can get Amrish off the screen and could we have, yes, thank you so much. Thank you. So, if you observe why I did this experiment was to demonstrate the power of now. When you are in the now, what it essentially comes down to is you have to remove memory and you have to remove imagination. The human mind is the biggest enterprise in the world that produces suffering because 99.9999% of the times it is in one of the two faculties, which means it is either in memory, which means in the past, or it is in imagination, which is the future. It is rarely in the now. So all the description that came of touching the pen or the headache came from memory. That means the mind is in the past. Now, memory is a very good tool. So I'm not saying don't use memory. Please don't get me wrong. Memory can be a wonderful tool if you know how to use it, or memory can be a huge burden if you don't know how to use it. So how does it become a wonderful tool? Suppose I am traveling on the Bangalore main MG road and there is heavy traffic. And I know every day at this time in the evening there is heavy traffic. My memory tells me, okay, don't take this route, take another route because there will be heavy traffic on this route. So there it is a very important functional tool for survival. It has to be used that way. But where is memory a burden? Suppose if you meet somebody after 15 years and 15 years ago you had a bad experience with that person. A teacher had a bad experience with a student, or a student had a bad experience with a teacher 2 years back, or a parent had a bad experience with a child, or a child had a bad experience with somebody else. Now, when that person comes in front of you, you are living in memory, so you go back to that same bad experience. You are going through all those negative emotions all over again. Though that incident is long over, that person may have changed inside out in 15 years, but you are living that entire experience again. You are suffering your memory. Your memory has become a burden. What is depression? Depression is, in one of the two cases, either your memory has become a burden or your imagination has become a burden, which means your past has become a burden or you're imagining that the future will be terrible. That is how people get into depression. So this was the power of now. And I want each one of you to make a humble attempt to try and be in the now, which means listen without the filter of memory. Listen every word as it comes. So when Virat Kohli is facing a fast bowler in the IPL, suppose the fast bowler has a very fearsome reputation for taking wickets in quick fashion. If Virat Kohli faces the bowler through the filter of memory, the moment he comes to bowl a ball, Virat will already have become nervous, would be already full of fear, and will not be able to see the ball on its merit. The best bowler can bowl the best bowler can bowl one bad ball in an over. The worst bowler can bowl one good ball in an over. You have to judge the ball on its merit. You don't have to look at the reputation of the bowler. And that is what every brilliant batsman does. Even Virat Kohli faces the ball, treats it on merit. Sachin Tendulkar does it that way. That is why they became outstanding batsmen. They don't go by their reputation. They see the ball. They don't operate life through the filter of memory. They are completely in the now. Another example of being in the now is extreme adventure sports. So suppose you're a Formula One racing driver. Your car is at a very high speed. When driving the car, you can't be thinking of what mom is going to cook at home for dinner in the evening. Okay? You have to be in the now. You have to be in the now. Because one wrong movement, you're gone. You can't even take a casual glance here to see who's on the side. You have to focus on the road. So that is the thrill of extreme adventure sports. When you're doing bungee jumping and you're falling from 25,000 feet, there is no chance to think whether you can go for a walk in the evening. There's absolutely no time. In a realistic experience, if a painter is completely involved with his painting and he's getting all his energies into the painting, sometimes he's painting for 3 hours and he does not realize that 3 hours have passed. He thinks maybe 20 minutes have passed or 30 minutes have passed, and then he sees the watch. Oh my God, it's 3 hours and I've been on my canvas. So when you create joy, when you're doing something with joy and when you're completely in the now, everything becomes joyful. You don't know how time passes. If your life is full of joy, life is very short for you. But if you're a miserable person, life is very long. Life is a drag, as we call it. Okay? So let's try and be in the now as far as possible in creating a culture of joy. It is a very fundamental requirement to create a culture of joy. If you ask me for a one-line definition of stress, what is stress? Stress is simply this: you're not in the now. Your awareness is not in the now. If you train your mind to be in the now, there is no question of stress happening to you. No question. Remember this one-line definition of stress. Stress simply means your awareness is not in the now. You are either in memory or you are in imagination. In the now, there is no stress. If you're completely in the now, there is no stress. All right? With that, we come to the next important point to create a culture of joy. What is that point? That point is concentration. See, if the student is full of concentration, if the teacher is full of concentration, the entire environment will be joyful. The trouble starts when the student is somewhere else. Sometimes even the teachers get distracted. Even the parents, the trainers get a little distracted. And then, the harakiri begins. Now I'll tell you the problem with concentration. Right through my school life, right through my college life, all my teachers, all my trainers, everybody told me concentrate, focus, don't get distracted. Nobody taught me how to concentrate. Nobody taught me how to concentrate. We didn't have one lecture, one class which told us this is how you concentrate. And all the time we are telling the students, concentrate, focus. Don't get distracted. Don't look here. Don't look there. Don't fool around. They have been practicing distraction all their life. So they become damn good at distraction. So I have CEOs who are 55, 60 years old who are training for mind management and concentration under us. You'd be surprised to know this. It is difficult for us to make those CEOs sit in one place with their eyes closed for 5 minutes. So as you notice now in this live experiment, people are uncomfortable when they have to sit quietly with their eyes closed. What is the reason for this? Those CEOs have been practicing distraction for 30, 40 long years now. Your phone rings, email, this, that, ha, who, ah, who, ah, who, ah. Whole day this is going on. So suddenly, one day, one gentleman called Viveck Shettyy comes into your life and he tells you sit quietly for 5 minutes. It becomes very difficult. You'll wonder where did this guy come from and what is he trying to do with me? Whatever you practice, you will be damn good at that. So people are practicing restlessness all the time, whether they are students, whether they are working professionals, whether they are trainers, whether they are anybody. Nobody is practicing concentration. So we have become damn good at distraction. We have become damn good at restlessness because we practiced it for a long time. Understand this? So to understand concentration, I'm going to explain, share a story of Swami Vivekananda. We all have heard of Swami Vivekananda, but I don't know how many of you might have heard this story. Swami Vivekananda used to go to the library every single day during his school and college days and pick up one book to read. Now, he would return the book the very next day and pick up the next book. He did this continuously for months together. The librarian was a little surprised and astonished. He wondered, does this guy really read the book? And if he really reads the book, how can he finish a 300-page book or a 200-page book or a 400-page book in one day and come back the next day to take the next book? It is not possible. So one fine day, out of sheer curiosity, the librarian stopped Vivekananda and asked him, do you actually read these books? Or are you just, trying to show all your friends that you're a voracious reader and you're fond of reading? You want to show your parents you're very studious. So you come to the library, pick up one book every day, read 4, 5, 10 pages, see the cover, front cover, back cover, return it, and come the next day to pick up the next book. Do you actually read the books or you just flip through it? So Vivekananda replied, I read every single page, I read cover to cover. I finish the book and come back to you for the next book. The librarian didn't believe it. Shocked, and there was disbelief all over the face of the library. So Vivekananda said, if you don't believe me, let us do a simple test. You have a list of all the books I've taken in the last few months. You make a note in your register every time I pick up a book, and you also make a note when I return it. So go through your register, take any book of your choice, and ask me questions. So the librarian said, yes, fantastic, we'll do that. So at least I'll know if you're reading the books. So the librarian picked up 10 books, and started asking Vivekananda questions. The first book, the librarian went to page 44, asked a question. Vivekananda replied, para, chapter, and verse, which means this you're asking from chapter so and so, page number so and so, para number so and so. He went to the second book. Second book, again some random page. Again Vivekananda would reply, para, chapter, and verse. With all the 10 books, Vivekananda did the same thing. Now the librarian could not believe his ears. He asked Vivekananda, is this magic? What are you doing? How can you do this? Are you some kind of a magician? He said, no. I know the art of concentration. I know the science of concentration. He said, what do you mean by concentration? Science and art. So Vivekananda replied, you see, I am being able to focus all my energies in one direction when I pick a book. I have no fluctuation of the mind. My entire thought process, my entire mind is completely focused on the book. So it's one intense ray of energy coming continuously in the form of a laser beam and absorb everything in the book. So these days we have laser surgery. What happens in laser surgery? Intense energy concentrated in one direction to give you solutions, to make the surgery successful. Now I will explain it to you a little practically to help you understand how it works. When you are small, I had to tell you apple means A for apple, A-double-P-L-E, apple. Okay. Couple of years down the line, I did not have to tell you whenever I said apple, A-double-P-L-E. I would say the entire sentence using apple and you would understand. I would say, for example, I ate an apple today and it was delicious. I don't have to say I ate an apple, A-P-P-P-L-E. You have already absorbed that. You will also absorb the entire sentence now. 4 years down the line, you have absorbed sentences very fast. If you focus your concentration, you will grasp the entire paragraph. From paragraph, you will graduate to page. From page, you will start graduating to books. From books, you can remember multiple books. And Vivekananda did this very often. It was not a fluke. He has done this abroad when he went for his famous speech of Chicago. He met a few people informally there. They were surprised. So what Vivekananda is doing is, his concentration is so intense that if a normal person would take 5 days to read a book, he would finish it in 1 day. And most importantly, he would remember every aspect of the book. The other people would not remember even 20% of the book. With the kind of accuracy that Vivekananda could remember it. And Vivekananda, Swami Vivekananda remembered it for a long time. So it is important to teach the students to concentrate. It is important to teach the students to focus. That's when we can create a culture of joy, because they will not be distracted. And when concentration happens, joy happens automatically. So I'm going to give 2 techniques for all the trainers and their parents and the teachers who are there here. Please note down these 2 basic techniques. You can start off with this. It will bring phenomenal changes in your concentration powers. What is the first technique? Everybody has a tap at home. Set your tap in such a way that 5 to 10 drops are falling every minute. 5 to 10 drops. Keep the speed of the tap in such a way. 5 to 10 drops every minute. Observe the drop right from the time it is being formed and it is having a free fall, and then eventually falling on the sink and having a splash. Observe it continuously. Every drop you must keep observing for 3, 4, 5 minutes. This is called life is in motion and your attention is also in motion, but you are not losing your concentration powers. There is no fluctuation of the mind. There is no fluctuation of the thought. You are continuously in motion. Your concentration, attention is in motion, and your concentration is at its peak. If you do this for about 5 to 10 minutes every day, you start realizing your concentration goes to another level. Don't believe anything that I say. Experience everything that I say. You practice it and check it out for yourself. And teach your students also to do this, because once they learn concentration, they will obviously pick up things much faster. The second technique, and all these techniques I'm giving are for extroverts, which means people who cannot sit with their eyes closed. I'm not giving you techniques to do with your eyes closed. These techniques can be done by anybody and everybody, by children, by parents, by teachers, by everyone. So the second technique for concentration which I'm giving you all in this webinar is create a dot on the wall, on a board, whatever. A notice board you have at your house, you have a wall, small dot with a pencil. Create it at eye level. So your eye level should be similar to the level of the dot in terms of height. Okay. Now sit with your spine erect and your palms facing upwards, and focus on the dot without batting your eyelid. Eyelids should not move. Focus on the dot. If you let your eyelids move, you get time to think. There will be a lapse in concentration. Focus as long as you can without batting your eyelids. So you have to look at the dot continuously without batting your eyelid. Once you get a little tired or you feel it is getting now a little painful, stop. I don't want anybody to be tortured. This is a joyous process. I don't want you to be in discomfort. This has to be done full of joy. Take a break for 3 minutes, 2 minutes, do it again. Eventually you will observe that dot dissolves. What is left is just you and your concentration. The dot has dissolved. The dot is just an external prop to help you develop concentration. But once you focus intensely, the dot disappears. Only you are left with your concentration, with your energy being channelized in one direction. Once you start doing these techniques, they get stored in your subconscious mind as a program. It remains a permanent feature of your subconscious mind. No matter what you do in life, I'm doing this webinar, I'm least thinking about anything else. My only focus is to give 200% to this webinar. What happens after this, I'm not bothered. What happened before this, I'm not bothered. My only perspective is intensity of involvement in this webinar. I have to give it all my life energies. That's all that I know. And that is also a powerful concentration technique which comes into play. If I don't know how to concentrate, I will not be able to focus on this webinar. I don't come with chits. I don't come with papers. I don't carry anything with me. I use my concentration technique in webinars to keep my focus, to keep the flow of thoughts, to keep the entire flow of conversation, and to ensure that everything is going as per plan. So that was the third point, which was concentration. Now I'll come to the fourth point. The fourth point we have to understand to create a culture of joy is levels of happiness. There are levels of happiness which trainers must know. So we conduct an entire module. For those of you who are interested later on, you can contact us, called the Science of Happiness. We have an extensive 10 to 15 sessions which we do just on the Science of Happiness module. But I'll give you an elementary introduction here on the levels of happiness. Human beings can have 5 distinct levels of happiness. The first level of happiness is what we call the sensory level. Sensory means whatever you do with your sense organs, you're eating food, you're drinking something, you're watching a movie. So pleasure for the eyes, pleasure for your senses. Everything you do at a sensory level with your 5 sense organs. Physical activity, exercises, any other form of physical activity which gives you pleasure. This is called the sensory level. 80% of mankind remains confined to this level. 70-80% people are remain confined to this level, and this is a very basic level. You get very little happiness at this level, but you get happiness. The second level of happiness is, when you are pursuing something creative. So suppose if you are doing music, you are doing painting, you are doing sculpture, you are doing writing, in a creative thing which you are pursuing, you get greater joy because involvement is more, the intensity is more, the concentration is more, so you get greater joy. So all the trainers and teachers here must ensure that your students are always pursuing at least one thing creative that will help them in achieving greater happiness, that will make them a bundle of joy, that will make each one of you also a bundle of joy. Make sure you're pursuing something creative in your life. It may be gardening, it may be music, it may be theater, it may be writing, it may be poetry, whatever it is. The third level of happiness is when you crack a problem or you do something which nobody else could do. So for example, we are in the COVID-19 pandemic age and era. Whoever comes out with the vaccine will experience this joy because the entire world is going through this problem. Nobody has found out a concrete solution yet. But let us say some Indian or some gentleman from UK gets the first fully approved vaccine in place, and that vaccine gives a sure shot cure to everybody, that guy will feel a sense of joy which is far higher than the first two levels which I spoke to you about. Because he has cracked something which very few people could crack, or probably nobody could crack. It was a very complex problem, but he or she cracked it. So this is the third level of happiness. So give your students some challenge which they feel is very, very difficult to crack, and when they crack it, they experience this kind of joy. So make sure there is always some kind of challenge in it. The fourth level of happiness is service. Service. So when you do something for others without any selfish intent. So I tell very often in my talks, the I, me and myself pandemic is the biggest pandemic which has been in existence for decades, far bigger than the COVID-19 pandemic. Everybody is about I, me, and myself. All right. So when you are doing service to others, you do something which brings a smile on the face of the person opposite you. There is a sense of happiness which you will get, which is far higher than the previous three levels. So all the trainers, all the teachers, all the students must pursue service in some form or the other. Do something just for the sake of bringing a smile in somebody else's face, not with any selfish intent, not so that your name should come in the newspapers, not so that you should get credit for it, not so that you should get some award or points in your performance ratings for it, just for the pure joy of seeing a smile in somebody else's face. So Mahatma Gandhi wrote in his book, in his autobiography, if I'm not mistaken, that he did something for a small child and he saw a smile on that child's face. He said, the kind of happiness I got by just doing that small thing for that small child, I have never experienced in my life earlier before that. So service is the fourth level. The fifth level is meditation. And today, hopefully, if we have time, I'm going to try and do a meditation technique. But the fifth level and the most important and highest level of happiness that is available to human beings on the planet is meditation. So I'm sure all of you want the highest level of happiness. Please start meditating. It will bring you to a calmness, to a balance of mind which nothing else can do. And I'll tell you a very important thing which happened with the Buddha in a village. So Buddha was known for his meditation practices. And it is said that whenever he sat in meditation for 50 kilometers, nobody could do anything violent. Nobody could do anything which was, illegal or not in good intent or inhumanitarian, because he had such a powerful energy transmission that when he sat in meditation, maybe for 50 or 100 kilometers, everybody would become peaceful, everybody would become calm, everybody would become joyous. And this experiment was once conducted in a village, real life experiment I'm talking to you about, where they made everybody in the village meditate continuously for half an hour in the morning together. 7,000, 8,000 of them would gather and meditate together. For the next 6 months to 1 year, there was no violence in the village. There were no problems in the village. Everybody was helpful to each other. Everybody was joyous. Everybody was calm and peaceful. Even if there was a spark somewhere, something would come out, they would, immediately pacify and tell each other, no, we don't want to fight. Meditation is the highest level of happiness available to human beings on the planet. So please try meditation in your class, try meditation in your institutions and see the difference. And for those of you who want to train in meditation techniques, again, we offer detailed courses on what kinds of meditation can be done, how it can be done. There are different techniques available for different kinds of personalities and different kinds of people. So nothing to worry. And meditation is a process of joy. You don't force yourself to do anything. You evolve. In meditation, for trainers, you must understand this. The operative word is not control. The operative word is you evolve. You evolve to the next level. Okay? And another important aspect which I would like to draw your attention to, and then I think we'll quickly conclude the last 5 minutes of the webinar and proceed to the question answer session. I have completed my 1 hour or little more than 1 hour already. So this is in any relationship. To create a culture of joy, you must understand the needs of relationships. So in a teacher-student relationship, or in a parent-child relationship, or in a trainer and the one who's being trained relationship, there are 6 levels of needs which one must understand. What are those 6 levels of needs? The first level of need is certainty. So trainers, please understand this to create a culture of joy. The first level of need at both ends is certainty. Certainty means what? The teacher or the trainer has to be the gardener and not the landlord. The parents have to be the gardener and not the landlord. What does the gardener do? The gardener provides the right soil, the right amount of water, the right amount of light he ensures reaches the plant, and the flower blooms eventually on its own. So the gardener provides an environment for the flower to blossom. The landlord says, this is my land, I will grow what I want on it. I will decide when to, which type of crop to grow when, and I will reap a rich harvest. This is the attitude of the landlord. Don't be the landlord, be the gardener. And you will be able to teach the most profound things of life to students if you are a friend to them. So when I say certainty, at a very young age, students rely on their friends' advice more than their parents and more than their trainers and more than their teachers. So the teacher and the parent has to be a friend first, and then a teacher, and then a trainer, and then a parent. Because once you are a friend to the child trusts you a lot more. He'll come out to you openly with all his problems. He will discuss with you in a friendly environment. You will arrive at a solution faster in a very friendly environment. So whatever else the child tells about you or not, the child has to tell one thing for sure. This teacher is my best friend. My father is my best friend. My mother is my best friend. And children trust friends more than all the trainers in their life put together. So be a very good friend. That brings a certain amount of certainty to the relationship. The second aspect, which is very important, variety. Variety is important. The same things can't be happening in the classroom all the time, all the place. The same teacher with the same monotone. Monotone means what? 2 plus 2 means 4, and if you multiply 4 by 4, it will be 16. 16 multiplied by 3 will be 48, and after that, the Pythagoras theorem is this. Oh. It's a monotone. So just listen to the sound. Keep aside the word. This is the sound that we are making in the classroom. Keep the sounds unpredictable. Listeners and teachers are more fun when you can raise your volume when required, you can go low when required, and you can drift in the middle when required. The sounds have to be unpredictable. There has to be more variety. You have to tell jokes. You have to bring in humor. You have to tell stories. You have to bring a fun element to the most serious topic. The most profound messages should be given in a very fun format. Then there is variety. And this is a very important need of a relationship between a teacher and a student. The third aspect of the need for love and contribution. Every person at the other end is looking for love. So if you ask me one important quality that a trainer needs, or a teacher needs, or a parent needs, well, fall in love with your students. Fall in love with them. Only when you fall in love with them, something magical can happen. And they'll say, in this teacher's classroom, GHI, Gross Happiness Index, is right up there. It's right up there. And everybody says, oh, this teacher's lecture, I don't want to miss. For this teacher's class, they should jump. They should jump. And they should say, yes, we'll be there. We'll be there half an hour before the time if required. But we won't miss your class. That kind of an experience has to be created in the classroom. So the need for love. Fall in love with your students. Okay. There is need for love, and as I said, contribution. Everybody should feel they are contributing something. So if only the so-called academically brilliant students who in our days used to sit in the front rows, and I happened to be academically brilliant in my school and college days. So we were always in the front rows. The last benchers were left out. It was like, Australia, it's somewhere down there. Everybody knows it's somewhere down there, but nobody wants to go there. So they had nothing to contribute. Unless something, once in a while, something happened and there was some sporting activity, they contributed. The role of the trainer is to find out what is it that the student can contribute. If he cannot contribute in this manner, let us make sure he can contribute in some other manner. Because when he contributes, he or she will feel significant. He or she will feel significant. And that feeling of significance is important for every relationship between a teacher and a student. The student has to feel significant, that I am also something in the class. I am something in this organization. I am something in this institution. And I am also contributing. So you have to devise rules, devise ideas so that everybody can contribute. And the last thing, growth. Growth. Unless there is growth and there is visible growth, which means you feel you're growing, the student feels they're growing, they feel they're learning something new, they feel they're picking up something new. That feeling should be visible, that feeling should be experienced. Only then can the relationship be fantastic. So for growth to happen, I'll give you a simple technique. So for example, if a student is learning, let us say, violin from a teacher or a trainer. Now, on day one, if the teacher makes a goal, I will make you the best violinist in Bangalore, or the student makes a goal to himself or herself, I will be the best violinist in Bangalore, I will be the best violinist in India, I will be the best violinist in the world. Now, day one, you don't even know ABCD, and you're already on Everest on the top, you want to be there. This is going to be disaster. How should the training happen from both ends? Teach him a very simple tune of how to play the violin. A very simple basic tune. For 4, 5, 6 days, let him practice the simplest tunes. Let him learn that. Once he learns that, celebrate it. Celebrate. The small things of life have to be celebrated. Tell him, go and play the simple tune to your friends. Show them what, how you are learning the violin. Take their feedback. Enjoy. And the child starts learning. His subconscious mind starts enjoying the process. And once your subconscious mind and conscious mind come together, you will pick up anything. Because otherwise, if your subconscious mind is not supporting you, when you go to learn the violin, when you're doing this movement of the and trying to play the strings, your hands may start paining, you may start getting bored, you may start feeling this routine is too boring. But when you learn something quickly, the simplest of things, you start enjoying it, and the teacher and the student must start celebrating. So the student starts feeling, I'm growing, I'm growing, I'm growing, wow. Then you can take him right there up to the top. So growth is important, celebrate small things, that is extremely important. And with that, I'll come to the last point, and we'll conclude the webinar. We'll keep it open for the question and answer sessions. And if time permits, after the question and answer session, we'll do a short meditation technique first. I'm prepared for that, but we'll see how the time goes. The last important point which I'm making is create an environment where the child gets an inclusive identity. What do I mean by inclusive identity? Well, a vast majority of the system is designed to produce naked ambition, but very limited vision, or practically no vision. So I'll give you an example to explain what I mean. Ambition means more, and more. I, me, and myself means naked ambition is at play. Vision means all. So today, we have destroyed 50% of the planet by human activity. But we think we are doing something fantastic. Economic activity is causing more disaster in the planet than any war. But we think we are doing something fantastic. That is the tragedy of the comedy. And why has this happened? Because the system only trains you for naked ambition. It does not train you for vision. Vision is almost zero or very, very limited. Okay? So the child will say, I'll keep my house clean. This is my house. But I don't mind throwing, garbage in the staircase. That is the problem of the building. I don't mind, dirtying the streets of Bangalore. That is not my problem. I will keep my house clean. So I, me and myself, naked ambition. What is corruption? Corruption means my bank account only matters. How I get the money does not matter. So that is also a consequence of naked ambition, but limited or zero vision. What is nepotism? Nepotism is also a consequence of naked ambition, but no vision. 90% of the problems we are facing today is because the human mind is an expression of the reptile mind that is part of the human mind inside, which is full of, just naked ambition. Yeah. So what do I mean by all-inclusive vision? Here's the solution. Suppose you are teaching a child, you are telling him, this is a tree, these are the branches of the tree, these are the leaves of the tree. Well, you can teach it to him in a slightly different way. And that is the point. Tell him, this is not just a tree. Half your lungs are hanging there. What you call a tree are half your lungs. What they exhale, you inhale. What you exhale, they inhale. 50% of your lungs are hanging there. If you give the child this inclusive identity, forget cutting trees, forget destroying nature, forget destroying planet Earth. He will plant at least 1,000 trees before he goes away. Because every time he looks at a tree, he has an inclusive identity. These are my lungs. It is not a tree. These are my lungs. Tell him the entire planet is solar powered. Tomorrow, if the sun does not rise, forget you and me. No microorganism on the planet can survive. So, irrespective of which caste, religion, community, creed you come from, which God you believe in, we exist because the sun exists. You may not call the sun God, it is okay. Don't call it God. But at least have an attitude of gratitude towards the sun. At least say thank you. This is an inclusive identity. Right? Competitions happen in school. Everybody is deriving pleasure because somebody else has not got something. What is the nature of a competition? I come first in a running race. I am happy that I have come first, somebody has come second, he is happy, somebody has come third. We are all happy because the rest of them lost. So ambition is being nurtured there. But what about vision? So you have to tell them that every other child who has participated in the race is a part of us. We are a part of the same consciousness. We are a part of the same awareness. This is just one small event. There are many more events in life, and everybody scores somewhere, and everybody has to do well for you to do well, because we are all interdependent on each other. Today in the COVID-19 pandemic, we have realized that if your neighbor coughs, you can also have a problem. So see what the COVID-19 pandemic has taught us. Earlier, if you stepped out of your building in the elevator and somebody coughed, you would say, to hell with him, he's coughing, what's my problem? He will go to some doctor, he will think what to do next. Now if he coughs, you are thinking 100 times what to do next. Yeah? So everybody is interconnected. It is one consciousness. It is one universe. It is one mankind. This inclusive identity has to come into our lives. And please design an award. I hope the management, the teachers and the trainers and the principals are listening, for the most inclusive student, for the most inclusive teacher. A student who could take maximum students along with him in a joyous manner in the classroom. Once you design this kind of awards, people will know that vision matters more than ambition. And everything that we do, we have to keep one factor above all in mind, and that is the factor of well-being of society, the well-being of nature, the well-being of human beings around us, and our growth should not be at their cost. Anything and everything that we do should contribute to well-being. And that is real growth, that is real leadership, that is real contribution to society, not naked ambition. Naked ambition is just filling your own pockets. An inclusive question all the time. What is that question? What am I doing for the well-being of society, for the well-being of mankind at large, for the well-being of the universe at large? Is my activity supporting that? Then I am inclusive. And keep an award for the most inclusive student and the most inclusive teacher, and see the changes, see the culture of joy unfolding in your school, unfolding in your college, and you will make headlines no matter where you go. With that, I conclude my first session. Thank you everybody for listening to me. I hand it over to the moderator now for the question and answer session. And as I said, if time permits, and if the audience so desires, we will also do a meditation technique. Thank you, everybody.
Teachers, do you have any questions, queries to be posted? Viveck, sir, I have a question for you, sir.
Yeah.
You said that below 12 years of age, what prompted the child to commit suicide? 12 years old is not an age to, a mature age to think over it.
Yeah. So the single most important reason why children at that age, or in fact at any age when they commit suicide, anybody commits suicide, one thing is for sure. They think something is more important than life. That message has been given and they have registered it as a very strong program in their subconscious mind. That means I failed in my exam. This exam is more important than my life. I did not get a role in a movie. I am struggling as an actor. That struggle, that failure, and that struggle to succeed is more important than life itself. What happened? Well, we created such a system that everybody is looking for appreciation from others. We are hungry for appreciation from others. If we succeed in the exam, means everybody will appreciate us, means we are successful, and means we are doing good in life. If we are a successful film star, means everybody is appreciating us. I have a lot of followers. I make a lot of money. Everybody is listening to me. I am successful. And if it does not happen, I suffer from low self-esteem. Low self-esteem. And then when I suffer from low self-esteem, and coupled with that is the training since childhood that all your goals are more important than your life. See, today we have come to a situation where economy is supposed to support human well-being. Today human well-being is being compromised for economy. Exactly the reverse has happened. That is why suicides are happening. We are willing to compromise everything for our goals. I tell people life is the greatest gift. There is no bigger gift for you than life. Anything else, whether it's your career, whether it's your bank balance, whether it is your success as a movie star, all that is secondary. The first biggest gift is life. So if this training comes in very early, there is no question of suicide, because whenever he comes into a situation where he's in a problem, he's struggling financially, or he has some other problem, he will think, what is more important, my life or that problem? The moment the answer is my life, he will not take his life, or she will not take his life. But somewhere the message has gone deep down that those things are more important than life. So life can be compromised, but they cannot be compromised. Hope that answers your question.
Yes, sir. Yes, yes.
And I would also request all the parents and who missed our webinar on the subconscious mind. It is uploaded on the YouTube channel of Bunts TV Bangalore. So kindly go there. It's a full detailed video with a exciting question answer session which went on for almost an hour, and a lot of questions came up. So you will have tremendous insights into the working of the subconscious mind, which is also very important in creating a culture of joy. Keep revisiting those talks till those messages register very firmly at the back of your mind. Any other questions, please?
There's a question, sir. How can we mold our children at their teenage? A question from Jyoti Indi. How can we mold our children at teenage?
How can we, what is that word you're saying?
How can we mold our children at teenage?
So, as I mentioned earlier in this webinar, teenage is an age where energies start bursting. Okay? So, and if you don't mold them correctly, there is a high chance that they will become a rebel. Yeah? And many parents, trainers, teachers are experiencing this problem. So I'll tell you a funny joke. You know, a teacher who used to give private tuitions to a student for some subjects in college was so strict and was so, much of a disciplinarian that the child gradually started becoming a rebel. So what would happen in the tuition was the following. If the teacher says look left, he would look right. If the teacher says sit down, he would stand up. So exactly the opposite he would do. And this thing happened eventually even with the parents who were also strict disciplinarians. And one fine day, this joke happened. The teacher also realized that he will do exactly the opposite of what I say. So that if the teacher wanted him to look right, she would tell him look left. So he would look right. If she wanted him to sit down, she would tell him stand up. So he would sit down. And the teacher was using this technique till one fine day, the child found out that the teacher is no longer getting angry with him. So he was wondering, why is the teacher not getting angry? Because the child's joy was in being the rebel, in doing what the teacher didn't want him to do. And seeing the teacher angry, the child used to get tremendous joy because my teacher is angry with me. So one fine day, he figured out that the teacher actually is telling him opposite of what he or she wants him to do, and he got the trick. So the next time the teacher told him sit down, he actually sat down. So the teacher was surprised. The teacher said, what's happened to you today? So he said, no madam, I found out your trick. You're telling me opposite things. So now I'm going to be unpredictable. Sometimes I may listen to what you say. Sometimes I may not listen. Even I'm going to be unpredictable now, because otherwise you will make me do exactly what you want me to do. So this was the joke which happened at the teenage. But I'll tell you a more proper method. Exactly what I told in the first half of the in the second half of the webinar. Sorry, please be the gardener and not the landlord. Which means provide an environment where the flower can blossom. The flower automatically bends in the direction of light. If you give it the right environment, it will bend in the direction of light. So a rose flower need not be taught to bend in the direction of light. It automatically bends in the direction of light. But you have to give the right environment. So giving the right environment means, first thing, don't shout. A lot of people end up shouting thinking that it will discipline, it will create fear, it will create, the right, send the right message across. Now I want to tell you something. When you're shouting, nobody likes anybody shouting at them. Would you like me shouting at you? No. Would I like you shouting at me? No. What happens when we are shouting? We are tolerating each other. We are not enjoying each other. We are tolerating each other. Tolerance has a limit. Tolerance has a limit. And one fine day, the limit breaks. And that time, the person goes completely the other way. Yeah. So we should not shout at children. We should not, use our physical or peer pressure force on them. We should create an environment where they do a lot of self-inquiry, and we should assist their self-inquiry and help them discover things for themselves. They should discover things for themselves. They should find out. And if you're more of a friend, the child will trust you a lot more. The child will say, yes, my father is my friend, my mother is my friend, my teacher is my friend. He is helping me find out something. So you can tell him, if you look right, this may happen. If you look left, this may happen. Let's try. Look at the right and see for yourself. The child will be more open to suggestions, and the child will realize you are giving him respect, and it's a two-way traffic. You are not imposing yourself because you're a senior or a parent. So this is the right way to mold teenagers. The other thing is, in our system, we have export designing courses, we have fashion designing courses, we have business management courses. We don't have mind and energy management courses. Anything you do in life, two things will come into play for sure: mind and energy. Okay? So, if you know how to manage your mind and if you know how to manage your energy, no matter what situation life throws at you, you will find the balance. The fire which cooks your food can also burn your house. All that it needs is a change of direction. When it is going upwards towards the container, it is cooking the food. If it goes sideways, it can burn your house. And why is mind and energy management so important? For the simple reason, what a teenager does depends on what a teenager thinks. What a teenager thinks depends on what he or she feels. What he or she feels depends on the emotion prevailing within the body at this moment. What is emotion? Split the E and the motion. It is nothing but energy in motion. And what does energy in motion depend on? Energy in motion depends on the data streaming that is happening around the child. What is data streaming? Now, I am speaking to you all. You all are listening to me. You are trying to analyze what I am trying to say. This analysis will cause data streaming. This data streaming will cause energy flow. That energy flow will cause emotion. That emotion will result in feeling. That feeling will result in thought. That thought will create action. So if you want to work on life in a big, profound manner, you have to operate at the fifth and sixth layers, which is the data streaming and the energy layers. So which is why I tell parents and trainers, children are watching movies on internet. There is anger, there is murder, there is violence. They are playing video games where one is eliminating the other. These are all negative downloads. The data streaming is negative. These programs will get stored in the subconscious mind as negative programs, and eventually they will affect the life of the child. Many of you may be surprised to know, we say a simple cartoon show. I'm sorry, it's not a simple cartoon show. Even in cartoon shows, when one is eliminating the other, what is happening at a subconscious level? There is joy in one person eliminating another. Once you experience this joy in the form of video games, eventually, in real life, also you would like to see such things. Yeah. So in the US, 14-year-old children are taking machine guns and shooting all over the school campus. Why? What happened to them at the age of 14? Well, this happened. They are constantly playing video games where one is killing the other. The movies that they watch are full of violence. And most importantly, in the US, it is very easy to get gun licenses. So the father has a gun. One fine day, the child gets hold of the gun of the father without the father knowing and does what he has to. Because how long will he keep playing the video games? He wants the real stuff now. How long will he get joy in playing, on a small screen, on a laptop, on a television screen? He wants the real thing. He wants to really display the anger and do other things. And let me tell you one more thing. Even if our children don't take guns and do those things, because in India, gun licenses are very difficult to get, but it will definitely manifest as disease as he goes forward in life, because it's a negative program. When you're storing anger, you're storing violence, you're watching all this negative data around you, these programs are getting stored in your subconscious mind in the form of softwares. They're getting stored. Eventually, they have to manifest in your life in the form of a disease. So many of you may be surprised to know, I don't have a television in my house. Not because I cannot afford a television, but I only watch that kind of data which I want to watch on the internet. I choose my time, I choose the content, I choose 15 minutes for this subject, 10 minutes over and out. Because I don't want any negative downloads in my subconscious mind. And I would again advise you all, please watch my webinar on the subconscious mind management, where I've gone into great length on this. How these negative downloads work, how they manifest in your life as disease, psychosomatic diseases, how sometimes as you grow older it could, many other things, more serious things could happen. So I hope that answers your question.
Sir, many questions are pouring in.
Yeah,
If
please.
you permit, I will go with one particular question pertaining to this. This one pertaining to the age-old people, how they react and how they this one relish with their their memories of the past. So in old age, people tend to always bring bad memories, and how they let their life and grumble on each and everything, how to bring a level of happiness in their minds, especially in the pandemic times. They tend to become more restless.
Okay. Very good question and very relevant. Where is this question come from?
From a
Who's asking
teacher,
this question?
Tanuja ma'am. Tanuja ma'am has posted this question, sir.
Yeah, Tanuja madam, it's a very good question, and I will try to do justice by pointing out certain things to you, and hopefully that will also answer your question. So, what is the biggest mistake that people are doing in the COVID-19 pandemic age and era? Well, the biggest mistake that people are doing are they are programming their subconscious mind for the worst case scenario, especially senior citizens. Yeah. So since this question was pertaining to senior citizens, they are programming themselves for worst case scenario, which means I am a senior citizen, so chances of me getting it are very high, and maybe I'll get it. And if I get it, where do I run for doctors? Who will look after me? Will my children take care of me? Will others take care of me? Will I survive the pandemic, or will it consume me? What will happen? They're constantly thinking of this day in and day out. When your subconscious mind is thinking and operating at one frequency all the time, chances of it manifesting in your life are very high. Okay, so your life is like a radio set. I host a program on 107.1 megahertz on FM Rainbow. So if you want to listen to my program on primetime radio on a 6 p.m. on a Friday, you have to tune to 107.1 megahertz. You will get the broadcast of my program on your radio set. Similarly, whatever the broadcast in our life now is because we are tuned to that energy, that frequency, and that vibration. Very simple, basic, elementary physics. And unless you change the frequency of your thought, every thought has got energy. Please remember this. The stronger the energy, the more the amount of time you spend with that thought, the greater the chance of it manifesting itself. So, don't program yourself for worst case scenario. Program yourself for best case scenario. Now, what is the best case scenario? I'll tell you this. So, the best case scenario that you have to program yourself for in the COVID-19 age and pandemic is you have to program your subconscious mind with this message. Adversities offer the greatest opportunities. Adversities offer the greatest opportunities. And this is not a statement I'm making in the air. This is true. So there was a lady from India itself, from Bihar, and again, if I remember her name correctly, it is Jyoti Kumari or Sakshi Kumari or something like that. The story appeared in every newspaper. You all can Google and check this. But one thing is for sure, she was from Bihar. And after the COVID-19 pandemic happened, immediately for the first 1 or 2 months, there was lockdown. Nobody could travel from one state to another. So she was the daughter of a migrant laborer in Mumbai, who was in Mumbai, and she's in Bihar in her hometown. Okay. And her father had a serious leg injury and he could not travel back home for two reasons. One, he had a leg injury. Two, interstate travel was not permitted for the first 1 month after the lockdown. So there was no question of going from one state to another. So the girl was a little disturbed, a little agitated. Who will take care of her father there? He's all alone in Mumbai and he's hurt his leg. He's very badly hurt and he cannot come back here also. So she took a bicycle on hire. Okay. She cycled for about 7 days from Bihar to Mumbai and back to Bihar. By carrying her father on the cycle, he was a pillion rider on the back seat and she rode the cycle all on her own for 7 days with practically no money, no food, very little, some water and tidbits here and there. For 7 or 8 days, she cycled, covered 1,200 kilometers, and finally brought her father back home on the cycle on the 8th day. This story of this lady who's a daughter of a migrant labor coming from really the economically deprived section of society caught the fancy and imagination of every major newspaper, every major internet channel and news channel, and her story was splashed everywhere. That's how even I read it. And the Cycling Federation of India took note of her and invited her for a trial. So when I told you adversities offer the greatest opportunities, this is a living example in front of you. If the adversity of the COVID-19 pandemic had not happened, she would not have cycled all the way back to Mumbai. And if her father was not injured, she would not have traveled all the way to Mumbai. She traveled and she used a cycle. She got noticed. The Cycling Federation of India has invited her for a trial, saying that if you have so much potential on a cycle, you can virtually on an empty stomach cycle for so long. We think you're a champion and you can do wonders for our nation. So let's come and give it a try. Most importantly, in my personal training, there was a gentleman who lost 15 lakhs in a business transaction. Somebody cheated him. He was coming to me for one-to-one counseling because he had gone through depression. Yeah, because of losing 15 lakhs, which is a lot of money for him those days. So I changed the program of his subconscious mind and I made him feed one program. Before I tell you what was that program, you must understand what was the program that he was carrying in his mind all the time. Because since you're talking about senior citizens being unhappy and being restless and this and that, they are running certain programs in their mind. So this gentleman had a program in his mind that everything in my life is lost. I have faced a big loss. Now it is difficult for me to recover. Now my life is over. I will be in terrible problems. This was the program in his subconscious mind, which was continuously running. Once he came to me for one-to-one counseling on a professional basis, we changed the program of his subconscious mind. I gave him a new program. I told him from today you have to feed one program very strongly in your subconscious mind. What is that program? The program is, and the idea is this: I have lost in one way, but the universe has the power to return what I have lost and much more than what I have lost in a million ways. Feed this program in your subconscious mind, I told him. And believe me, it will happen. So he started feeding this program in his subconscious mind. He started doing some meditation techniques with him where we would feed this idea into his mind constantly through different ways. Every week he would meditate twice or thrice and feed this program in. And eventually he used to meditate every day with this program. 4 months down the line, you all may be surprised to know what happened with him. 3 or 4 months down the line, one of his elderly relatives, aunts or somebody, expired and she had no children. And her experience with this gentleman who came to me for counseling was a very nice experience for a lifetime, which means whenever she needed help, he was always there. Whenever she needed something, he was always there. And since she did not have children, such help mattered a lot. So in her will, before dying, she wrote down all her property in his name. She wrote down all her bank balance and wealth in his name. And after she died, when the will was finally opened, they found out that this man was the beneficiary and the total value of the amount of the property and the wealth that had come to him was 2 crores. And he had lost just 15 lakhs. In 4 months, 2 crores came to him from nowhere. He didn't even think it would come to him in this fashion. So I want all of you to feed this program in your mind in the COVID-19 age and era. 2 programs, 2 ideas. Adversities offer the greatest opportunities. This is program number 1. Program number 2 and idea number 2 is, even if I'm lost in one way, the universe has the power to return much more than that in a million ways. In a million ways. That is important. And once you feed this program in, the subconscious mind starts registering this program continuously, and the chances of it manifesting in your life are very, very high. So even in my own case, my personal experience, we run an event company. Obviously, outdoor events have taken a hit. Advertising has taken a hit. We run an advertising, PR, event, and celebrity management firm. All those outdoor activities have taken a hit. But my motivational speaking, my life coaching has gone to another exponential level. I have students from 5 continents now. Before the pandemic, I had students from maybe US, UK, and India. Now there are students from Australia, there are students from Europe, there are students from Nigeria, there are students from Denmark. I am doing webinars every day, sometimes even 2 or 3 webinars in one day. See what happened. Even I maybe lost a little in one way in my event company, in my other regular business. But the universe is returning to me here in such a big way, in a million ways. People are connecting to me from nowhere. People whom I never thought of, whom I've never met in my life, are connecting to me and are enrolling for our one-to-one sessions, are asking me to do webinars for them. All this is happening. Why? Because I have feeded one program in my subconscious mind very strongly. The universe is full of abundance. We may lose something somewhere once in a while, something may not go our way, but the universe has the power to return to you much more than that, in a million ways, in a million ways. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you, sir. Sir, one more question. Can young learners be taught or trained about goal setting? If yes, how to go about it?
Can learners?
Can young learners be taught or trained about goal setting? If yes, how to go about it?
Of course, you can be trained about goal setting, and of course, there is a definite technique. It has got 2 aspects to it. One is it is a science, so you have to grasp it intellectually first, how it works. And the second thing is it is an art. Once you learn the science, you have to practice the science. That's when it becomes a fine art for you. So suppose if you're learning music, okay, you learned all the notes of music, you grasp the theory, but unless you practice singing, you're going to go nowhere as a singer. Okay? So similarly with goal setting, we do one-to-one sessions. So please feel free to contact us, where we, in our mind management modules, goal setting is a very big aspect of how to set goals, how to achieve your goals. And we ask a question: why is there a struggle to achieve goals? Because 99% of your decisions are taken by your subconscious mind. So your conscious mind, which is hardly 1 or 2%, wants to do many things. I want to become this, I want to do that, I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to become a pilot, I want to become, the biggest businessman in India. Okay, great. But unless there are programs in the subconscious mind which support the ambitions of your conscious mind, you will achieve nothing. You can set as many goals as you want. Keep setting goals. But if you want to achieve your goals, you have to understand the fine art and science of goal setting, and you should also understand the science of subconscious mind, which supports your goals. So create programs there in the subconscious mind which support your goals. Delete all the past programs which are self-defeating and self-sabotaging and do not support your goals. You have to delete those programs. Now this can be done by a trained person who knows the technique of how to delete old programs and how to install new programs. So we have energy techniques, we have certain other techniques. One technique which I'll give you right now in the webinar for the benefit of all of you all: before you go to sleep, 30 minutes, watch something positive and motivational which is relating to your goals and ambitions and desires. When you go to sleep, your subconscious mind doesn't go to sleep. It is working. If you feed the right program, it will work on that program, and you'll be surprised by the morning you may have some extraordinary insight into your goals, some extraordinary input into how to achieve those goals. This is the science of the subconscious mind. Unfortunately, most people are watching negative television programs, negative reality shows, negative news before they go to bed. And this is the fodder they're giving for their subconscious mind before they go to bed. So in the morning, once they wake up, the entire circus begins, the entire chaos begins, the entire havoc begins. And this goes on for a lifetime because we don't have a clue of what is the subconscious mind, and it is taking 98% of our decisions. So as I'm speaking in the webinar, who has taken the decision to ensure that your blood is flowing at the right pressure and you don't have a BP problem as you're listening to me? Your subconscious mind. There are many cricket lovers. IPL is going on. You've been watching cricket for 10, 20, 30 years. You probably even played cricket in your school and college days. I will tell you from tomorrow morning, stop liking cricket. Snap your fingers and tell from tomorrow morning, I will not like cricket. Can you do that? You cannot do that. Why? The program is stored very strongly in your subconscious mind for 20, 30 years. Tomorrow morning, if I tell you stop liking cricket, you can't do that. All of us have been walking in a particular fashion. You have a distinct style of walking. Now I'll tell you, from tomorrow morning, change your style of walking. You will try some awkward poses for 5-10 minutes. You will struggle with those poses and try to walk differently. Eventually, you'll come back to your original walk. Why? The subconscious mind is running that program. You can't change it. So these are some insights, and I hope this answers your question, and I hope it gives you some, suggestions about how to go about ahead in life. Yes. Any more questions?
No, sir. As of now, I think so. It's over. May I call upon Srimati Rupashri from the Maths Department to propose the vote of thanks. Rupashri ma'am, please take over.
Yeah, thank you so much, Prabha. I, on behalf of the management, staff, students, and parents, extend a very hearty vote of thanks to our beloved speaker today, Mr. Viveck Shetty, for gracing this webinar. A big thank you to your efforts, sir, towards creating the culture of joy. I would like to express our sincere thanks for giving an excellent coverage on the process of self-inquiry and self-investigation. Context is more than content, goals, and how to lead a joyful life. Thank you so much, sir.
Yes. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. I would like to thank our beloved President, Sri Upendra Shetty, sir, for his constant encouragement and support. I extend my thanks to Honorary Secretary and Convener, Sri Madhukar M. Shetty, for his enormous cooperation in all the events. I also extend my sincere thanks to our Treasurer, Sri B. Deepak Shetty, sir, for his involvement in organizing the events. Thank you, sir. I also thank Governing Council members, executive members, office bearers of the Bansanga. I extend my gratitude to our beloved Principal Ma'am, Srimati Anju Nayak, for motivating teachers and providing encouragement at all times. Thank you, ma'am. I also thank our ICSE headmistress, CBSE headmistress, nursery coordinator, high school coordinator, the admin staff for their constant support. I also thank HODs of various departments from the school and the college section, and to all my dear colleagues. I also extend my thanks to all the parents and students who have graced this webinar. Once again, we are all most grateful to the management for this perfect logistics support and guidance extended to all of us. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rupashri ma'am. It's
Thank you.
time to wind up with today's webinar. Hope this session would seek a birth in our minds for the longest time of our lives. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.